Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another My Kids Locker COVID-19 podcast episode. Today, we get to share a story called The Two Crows. Yes, it's called The Two Crows. Well, this is Victoria Wolders, your podcast host. I'm also a mom and a teacher too. So if you're sitting down, I hope that you enjoy the story and the lesson and the activity. So we'll start off with part one, listening to a mindful moment.
To part one. Are you comfy? Are you cozy? Well, get ready to listen.
Well, here we are in part one. In part one, we get to focus on a quote or saying. Today's saying is focused on the word compassion, and we are going to reflect on the definition. Compassion means literally to suffer together. That means you are walking along with someone in their journey of suffering or what they are going through. Compassion is interesting because it's different than empathy. Empathy is feeling what another person feels. Compassion means that you are suffering with that person. So you're right beside them, feeling what they feel, but you're able to do that almost in a way that is separate. Empathy may be more draining and exhausting than compassion. Compassion has a little bit more of a boundary to it. So I'll say that again. Compassion literally means to suffer together. Well, I hope that you enjoyed today's mindful moment, and we are now going to move on to part two.
Hi everyone, welcome back to part two today. We are going to create something amazing, and let's get crafty. Bye.
Well, here we are in part two. Today we get to focus on art. So, take some time to think of what a problem is. This week, we are focusing on solutions to a problem that you might be able to find in the story. So, think about what a problem is, and then what a solution is. Sometimes in stories, we have characters that transform inside because they are struggling with a problem in their mind. On a piece of paper, put a line down the middle of the piece of paper. Then label one side problem and label the other side solution. Listen to this story and draw a picture of what you hear before the problem is solved and then after the problem is solved. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to write on the left side problem, PROBLEM, and on the right side you're going to put solution, SOLUTION. So you're going to state what problem is going on in the story, and then you're going to state the solution. You might even want to draw a picture. That would be lovely. Okay. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this part. We are now moving on to the story. I hope that you enjoy the story of The Two Crows, which is about two sisters who are hurting, and they meet two brothers and they fall in love. However, the brothers may not really be humans, but crows. So today you're going to learn about perspective taking and love. I hope that you enjoy the story.
Once upon a time, a long time ago, in the Oak and Eagle Kingdom, in the land of the Eastern Eagle, there were twin sisters. Both sisters lived together on the side of a mountain. Now, when they were growing up, their mother was quite sick, so whenever the two girls used to fight, they used to shame each other because they were never told how to deal with hurt words. They were mean to each other with their words and with their actions, and both girls began to believe they were not worthy of love and that they were both unlovable. Their mother unfortunately died young, and their father shortly passed away a couple years after their mother passed away. The two girls decided to live together on the side of a mountain. They never learned how to forgive each other because they always just thought it was normal to dislike each other. So they both would get up in the morning. The first sister, who was named Shallow, would often make the tea. The second sister, named Sorrow, would often stay in bed. When Shallow made her tea, she would only make a cup for herself. And often, Sorrow would get angry at her and say, "What about me? Don't I deserve a cup of tea too?" And then they would get into an argument, and for the rest of the day, stay angry at each other. Often, Shallow and Sorrow would share hurtful words with each other. For example, Shallow has been known to say, "I don't like you anymore. You've just ruined my day." The other sister would say back, "I can't believe I live here. I don't like you, and you don't make me happy." So they both learned that using hateful words made themselves feel better and in control. However, it was hurting their heart, hurting their souls, and hurting their mind. Whenever they would go into the village, Shallow and Sorrow often would just not say anything to anyone. They would often look sad, and they would not be happy. Many people chose not to come up to them. Sometimes villagers would look at them and see them arguing. Some villagers would ask each other, "What is it that makes them to be so angry with life? Shallow and Sorrow seem so hurt." One day when they were walking in the village, there were two brothers that the sisters saw. The sisters thought that these two brothers were from another part of the Oak and Eagle Kingdom. And the two sisters looked at these two brothers and fell in love with them. They approached the two brothers and began a conversation. One of the brothers' name was Song, and the other brother was named Sun. They would often sit on the side of the road and make beautiful music. They would sing songs to each other and sing songs to the villagers, and they would just sit and listen and sing their beautiful songs. Over the several weeks, we had the two girls really come to care for Song and Sun. They would often come to the village angry and hateful, but yet when they walked by the brothers, their heart melted, and they would hear the songs coming from their voices. Just at the time when Sorrow fell in love with Song and Sun fell in love with Shallow, it seemed like everything was well with everyone. The two brothers approached the twins one day. They said, "We have seen you from a distance, and you both are very beautiful." Sun turned to Shallow and said, "I would like to spend more time with you." Then Song turned to Sorrow and said, "I would like to spend more time with you." The two girls' faces lit up for the first time in a very, very long time. They were both shocked and surprised at these two brothers wanting to spend time with them. "Oh, we'd love for you to spend time with us. That would be lovely," they replied together. As the sun was setting, they realized that there was a relationship that was forming, and it was because of the brothers' kindness and because of their kind voices that unified them and was able to bring healing to the hurting sisters. As they walked together, all four of them, the first sister began to say something. She said, My younger sister is not very nice to me." One of the brothers replied, "Well, why is that?" The oldest said it was because she was hurt that their mother had died and their father had died, and there had been great pain, and that both of the sisters didn't know how to talk to each other properly. It just seemed that there was no love because of the hurt had covered their love with a blanket. Song spoke up. "Why don't you think about being generous, thinking the best in each other? Why don't you think about forgiving each other instead of being angry? Somewhere along the line, someone has to stop the anger cycle." The sisters looked at each other. "I think we should try that. Thank you so much." The two girls hugged the brothers, and they left to go home. The next morning, they woke up, and the girls were both in a different mood. They chose to be kind to each other, helpful to each other, and they remembered what the brothers had said to them. They both believed that they needed to start being generous with their assumptions for each other. They said, "We need to start thinking the best of each other. We need to start being generous. Life gets a little easier if we're able to forgive each other, and we are not holding things in." The two girls hugged as the sun was rising, and they both agreed they were going to go back to the village and talk to the brothers. As they walked into the village that morning, they happened to see the sun was brighter, the birds were singing louder, the grass was greener, and they just became grateful for the wonderful things around them. They went to one of the villagers and said, "Have you seen the two brothers?" And the villagers said, "We don't know what you're talking about. There have been no villagers around here." Shallow said, "But for the last couple of weeks, we've stood and talked to the two brothers that were sitting on the side of the road, and both of them had beautiful voices. We'd often hear them, and we'd just sit and listen to them, and they were the ones that told us how to care for each other." The villager turned to the two girls. "When I have seen you in our village, I have seen you talking to two crows. Those two crows had beautiful voices, not like the normal crows. They had these majestic wings, too, that were larger than any other crows I've seen. They almost sparkled, and they had a glow to them that was very magical. Girls, I don't think you were talking to brothers. I think you were talking to two birds, two crows." And at that point, the twins realized that perhaps they were talking to the crows. They weren't talking to brothers. Another villager was listening. He came up. He began to start saying that he had heard the crows, and he had quickly gone around the corner and seen the girls talking to the crows. The villagers said, "Why don't you go talk to the local wizard?" So the girls decided to go to the local wizard to ask about these magical crows. They turned around the corner and saw the wizard. "What are you doing here?" the wizard said. "Well, we're here to ask you about the brothers," they replied. At that point, two crows were flying high above the sky, and they heard conversations that were coming from the crows. It sounded like they were singing, but also perhaps the voices of the two brothers. The two girls looked up and then looked at the wizard. They said, "We've had two brothers come visit us, and they've told us how we need to love and care for each other and forgive. We suspect that they were not brothers, but they were magical crows, and they were here to give us wisdom." As they looked at the wizard said, "Yes, you are right. These two crows were very magical." And then he turned to look out the window, and he saw two crows soaring higher and higher. He said, "We are in the land of the Eastern Eagle, and in the oak and eagle kingdom. Crows have been known to talk, eagles have been known to soar, and these two crows were there to teach you a lesson about love, life, and forgiveness. The brothers you met on the road truly taught you about generosity and forgiveness. The sisters looked at each other and held each other's hands, and from that day forward, they chose to honor each other and speak kind to each other. And they realized that those two birds, those two crows, changed their lives forever. The end.
Hi everyone, it's time to innovate, part 3. Woo.
Here we are in part 3. Well, today we get an awesome opportunity to extend our learning with the story, The Two Crows. What is the difference between a raven, a crow, and a blackbird? There are some interesting birds in the world that are black. So, take some time today to learn about black birds on the internet, their sizes, their shapes, where they're located in the world. Also, you can also look for fables and legends about the blackbird. Perhaps there are stories about why the bird is black or why a specific type of bird is black. So, as an extension lesson today, research about blackbirds around the world, and then learn about any stories, fables, or legends that people have shared in the past about blackbirds. You might need to do this with a parent. I hope that you enjoy this extension lesson. Well, if you need to put pause, please put pause, and then we're going to conclude the podcast episode. I hope that you enjoyed today's lesson on the two crows. I hope that today you were able to create some amazing things. Remember, hashtag MyKidsLocker and hashtag COVID-19Ed. Well, until next time, boys and girls, I hope that you truly have a wonderful day. And I hope that you, too, will have less screens, more listening, more creating, and more innovating. Please check us out at mykidslocker.com and find our YouTube channel with our mascot, Snowball the rabbit, who loves to tell jokes. Okay, until next time, we'll see you later.